She held the phone between us without saying a word. Just tilted the screen toward my face the way you would show someone a funny video, except her hand was shaking, and the light from the screen was the only light on that entire road, and what was on it was not funny at all. I looked at it for maybe 3 seconds. Then I looked at the back seat. Then I looked at it again. I remember the exact sound of my own breathing in that car. I remember the way the dashboard lights looked green against her knuckles. I remember that my foot was still on the accelerator and that the car was still moving and that I had completely forgotten about both of those things. I did not say anything. I don't think she expected me to. If you have ever seen something that your brain refuses to file anywhere, something that does not fit into any category you have ever built for the world, then you already know what that silence felt like. If you haven't, I hope you never do. To understand why that scream made my blood go cold, I need to take you back about 40 minutes. Back to a Tuesday night that had been so ordinary, so unremarkably slow, that I had almost logged off twice before any of this started. It was the kind of Tuesday that makes you question your life choices somewhere around the 7 p.m. mark. I had been on the road since 4 in the afternoon and had cleared maybe $60 after expenses. Not bad on a weekend. Embarrassing on a weeknight when you are staring down a car payment that does not care about slow Tuesdays. I had a system for nights like that. I would pick a number, a dollar amount that felt like permission to go home, and I would not log off until I hit it. That night the number was $80. $20 more standing between me and my couch. I had already turned down 2 rides earlier in the shift. One was going 40 minutes in the wrong direction. The other was a pickup from a bar with a note in the passenger profile that just said, "Don't ask about the smell." I passed on both and lost maybe $12 doing it. That is the math that keeps you on the road longer than you mean to be. Every ride you skip costs you, so you stay on, and staying on makes you tired, and tired means you stop making good decisions. By 10:40 I had $83 and I was parked in a Walgreens lot eating a gas station sandwich I had bought 2 hours earlier and kept forgetting about. My last rider had been a college kid who fell asleep before I cleared the parking garage and then acted surprised when we arrived, like sleep had happened to him against his will. I had been doing this long enough that it did not even register as strange anymore. That was probably the problem.
One more
I had one
and
ritual
done.
for the last ride of every shift. Before I accepted it, I would take a sip of whatever coffee I had left, cold by then, always, and say out loud, to nobody, "One more and done." It sounds stupid. It was stupid. But it felt like closing a tab, like giving the night a shape it could end on. I took the sip. I said the words. I accepted the ride. 4.9 star rating. 11 minutes away. Destination was a residential address about 22 minutes from the pickup. Total trip, maybe 35 minutes door to door. The passenger's name was listed as Kara. It was, on every visible surface, the most normal ride of my entire night. She was waiting at the curb when I pulled up, which I always appreciate. No circling the block, no 3-minute wait while someone finishes a conversation inside. Just a person standing exactly where the pin said they would be, arms crossed against the cold, a dark green canvas jacket over what looked like work clothes. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. The kind of tired. That is not dramatic, no visible distress, no erratic energy, just a person at the end of a long day trying to get home. She checked my plate before she got in. I noticed that. Most people don't bother anymore. She did, glancing from her phone to my bumper and back once before she opened the door. Smart habit. I respected it. She said thank you when she got in, not the reflexive, barely there thank you that most passengers give, but a full sentence, "Thanks for coming out this late." Then she sat behind the passenger seat, not behind me, which is where most people sit. She put her bag on her lap instead of the seat beside her. Small things. None of them wrong. I pulled out and the app loaded the route. I glanced at it and felt a faint flicker of something I immediately talked myself out of. The navigation was not taking the most direct road. I knew this part of the city well enough to know that Delmore Avenue would have shaved at least 4 minutes off the trip, but the app had routed us 2 blocks east and onto a road that ran parallel to it. I assumed a traffic update I could not see. Apps do that. Algorithms know things drivers don't. I let it go. For the first 5 minutes, she did not look at her phone. She looked out the window. I had the radio low, nothing specific, just background noise to fill the silence, and the ride felt the way good late-night rides feel, quiet, anonymous, almost peaceful. Then she looked at her phone. She did not react immediately. She just read whatever was on the screen with the particular stillness of someone who has just read something they need to read again to be sure. Her thumb moved once. Then she stopped moving entirely. I watched her in the rearview for a second, then put my eyes back on the road. About 30 seconds passed. Then, in a voice that was careful in a way that normal questions are not careful, she said, "Did you pick anyone else up tonight?" I told her no. Just her. She nodded once, slowly, the way someone nods when an answer confirms something they were hoping it wouldn't confirm. Then she lowered her phone to her lap, screen down, and looked back out the window. She did not ask anything else. She did not explain the question. And I did not ask her to. I should have. The first time the app rerouted, I didn't think anything of it. That's the thing about these apps, they do what they want. Some algorithm somewhere decides a road you've driven 1,000 times is suddenly slower than going 3 miles out of the way, and you just follow it because arguing with a GPS is a losing game. So when the blue line snapped and recalculated, pulling us away from the West Side Connector and east toward the industrial stretch past Harlow Road, I made a noise in my throat and tapped the screen to correct it. The route went back to normal. For about 4 seconds. Then it snapped east again. Same road. Same direction. I watched it happen, not a flicker, not a loading stutter. A decision. The line just moved, the way something moves when something chooses to move. I tapped it back. It corrected itself before my hand left the screen. I said, "Sorry, my app's doing something weird, I'll get it sorted." The kind of thing you say to a passenger when you want them to know it's not your fault and you're handling it. Normal driver talk. She didn't say, "Oh no worries," or "These things happen." She looked up from her phone slowly and said, "Okay," in a voice that had no surprise in it at all. Like I'd just confirmed something she'd already written down. I noticed that. I filed it somewhere and kept driving. Then the stop appeared. Not a new destination. A stop. A little intermediate pin, dropped onto the route the way you drop one manually if you needed to run an errand on the way, except I hadn't dropped it, and there was no errand, and the location it was pointing to had no address. No business name. No street number. Just a raw coordinate sitting on what I knew, from 3 years of driving this city at night, was a dead access road beside a facility that had been shuttered for at least a decade. Nothing was out there. Nothing had been out there for years. Estimated time to this new stop, 4 minutes. Here is the thing about technology that malfunctions. There are only 2 explanations. The first is that it's a mistake, a bad update, a corrupted cache, some engineer somewhere pushed a broken build and 1,000 drivers got a weird night out of it. Fine. That happens. The second explanation is that it isn't a mistake. And once you've eliminated the first one, once you've tapped correct 3 times and watched the app undo you 3 times, you are standing at the edge of the second explanation with nothing between you and it. The pin sat there on my screen, pulsing the way all pins pulse. Patient. Waiting. 4 minutes. She said, "I need to show you something." Not "can I need to." Like she'd been waiting for the right moment and had decided this was it. She turned her phone around and held it up between the front seats so I could see the screen without taking my eyes fully off the road. I glanced at it. Glanced again. Then I put my foot on the brake without meaning to, not a stop, just a slow, the kind your body does when your brain needs an extra second. Her app was showing the ride summary. Active trip. Route, timing, the usual layout. Under passengers in vehicle, there were 2 entries. My name. Marcus. My driver profile, my photo. And one other. I looked at my own phone in the cup holder. 1 passenger. Her name. Nothing else. I checked the ride type, standard. Not shared. I have never had shared rides enabled on my account, not once, not for a single day of the 3 years I've been driving. Neither of us spoke. I want to try to describe what that silence felt like, because it wasn't just quiet. The car felt exactly the same as it had all night, same road noise, same heat from the vents, same faint smell of the air freshener I've had clipped to the dash for 6 months. Nothing had changed. The back seat, when I didn't let myself look at it, felt empty the way it had felt empty since she got in. There was no sound from behind us. No breathing. No shifting weight. Nothing. She kept the phone held up. The second entry had a full profile. Not a blank. Not an error state. A profile with a star rating, 4.6, the same as any real user, and a photo. The photo was dark. Slightly blurred, the way a picture looks when it was taken somewhere with almost no light and the camera tried anyway. I looked at it for 1 second and moved on, because there was nothing more I needed to see. The name beneath it was not a name. It was a number. Long 15, maybe 16 digits, formatted the way you'd format nothing, no dashes, no spaces. Just a string of digits sitting in the name field like it belonged there. She lowered the phone slowly. Outside, the pin was still waiting. 3 minutes now. Neither of us said a word. Both our phones lit up at the same time. Not a call. Not a system notification. The in-app message thread, the one that looks like any other chat window, the one I've used 100 times to tell passengers I'm outside or which entrance are you at, it activated on its own. Her phone. My phone. Same moment. Same message. From the second passenger profile. Why did you take my seat? I stared at it. She stared at it. Before either of us could decide whether to respond. Before I could even fully process what I was reading, the next one came in. I requested this ride first. The typing indicator didn't appear before it. No ellipsis, no pause. It just arrived, the way a thought arrives. Then. You should get out. I grabbed my phone and went to end the trip. The app would not let me. The current stop, that coordinate, that dead road, now less than 2 minutes away, was flagged as unfinished. The interface was frozen on it. I couldn't advance the route. I couldn't skip it. I hit cancel. The button was grayed out. I went to support. Hit call us. The line connected immediately, no ring, no hold music, no recorded message about wait times. Just silence. Not dead silence. Worse than that. The kind of silence that has texture to it, open, breathing, faintly layered with a sound I needed several seconds to identify. Road noise. Like someone else was driving. I ended the call. I tried cancel again. Still gray. Then the back doors locked. Both of them. Simultaneously. One sound. Not 2 separate clicks but one, the way it sounds when you hit the master lock button on the driver panel. Deliberate. Timed. She grabbed her handle. It didn't move. I reached for my door controls. Mine worked fine. Front windows, front locks, everything on my side responded normally. Only the back. I turned to tell her something, I don't even know what, some version of I'm working on it, stay calm, and she wasn't looking at me anymore. Her hand closed around my forearm. Hard. She was looking at the rearview mirror. I looked up. There was someone in the back seat. Not something. Someone. A shape with the right proportions, the right posture, seated the way a person sits, occupying space the way a person occupies it. No features I could make out. No movement. Just a darkness arranged in the outline of a person, present in the exact spot where a second passenger would be if a second passenger had been there all along. It wasn't doing anything. That was almost the worst part. That it was just sitting there, the way you sit when you're a passenger and the ride is almost over and you're just waiting. She couldn't see it. Wrong angle, wrong position. She was looking at the mirror trying to figure out why I'd gone completely rigid, why I'd stopped mid-sentence and hadn't finished. I could not explain to her what I was seeing. I could not find the entry point to that sentence. The figure did not move. Did not turn. Did not acknowledge me in any way that I could point to and describe. And yet, the air in the car felt different than it had 5 seconds ago. Heavier toward the back. The way a car actually feels when there's a person in the rear seat, a distribution of presence, a sense of the space being differently divided. I had been driving alone long enough to know exactly how my car felt empty. It did not feel empty anymore. My phone buzzed. One new message. Second passenger profile. Eyes on the road. I put my eyes on the road. The app chimed. That sound. I've heard it 10,000 times. The little 2-note drop-off chime that means a ride is done, money is logged, on to the next one. The most ordinary sound in my working life. It was the worst sound I have ever heard. Too clean. Too cheerful. Completely indifferent to everything that had just happened in this car, like a theme park jingle playing inside a burning building. The app didn't know. Or it knew, and it chimed anyway. The screen read, drop-off complete. Outside was exactly what I knew it would be. A dead-end access road, cracked asphalt going nowhere, a chain-link fence running along the left side and behind it the dark shape of a building that had stopped being used long before I started driving this city. No signage still readable. No lights on inside. No other vehicles. No movement anywhere that my headlights could find. Nothing was out here. Nothing had been out here in years. I didn't pull forward. I didn't turn around. I just sat with my foot on the brake and waited to find out what the app was going to do next. It loaded a new route. To her original destination. The one we'd been going to an hour ago, before any of this. The blue line redrawn, the ETA recalculated, cheerful little arrow pointing us back toward the city like a hand waving us through, all done here, keep it moving. I looked at the trip summary. The second passenger profile was gone. Not grayed out. Not marked as dropped off. Gone. No rating prompt. No receipt notification. No record in the visible interface that a second entry had ever existed in that list. Just her name. One passenger. Normal ride. I looked in the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. The doors unlocked. Both rear doors, simultaneously, one sound, same as when they locked. I don't know how long we sat there. I think it was close to 10 seconds. My hands were still on the wheel. At some point I had turned on my hazard lights, the amber flash reflecting off the fence, off the dark windows of the building, and I have no memory of doing it. My thumb must have found the button on its own, some survival reflex, tell the world something is wrong here, tell anyone who might be passing. No one was passing. She broke the silence first. Not with words. She opened her phone, pulling up the trip summary, moving fast the way you move when you need to capture something before it disappears. She stopped. She turned the phone to show me, and I already knew from her face what I was going to see. The second entry was gone. The ride looked completely normal. Correct pickup, correct destination, her name, my name, standard fare. Except the timestamp was wrong. The trip showed as having started 40 minutes before I picked her up. She got out slowly, the way you move when your body is still catching up to what your mind just processed. She stood beside the car for a moment, door open, and looked back at me through the window. I could see her trying to find the beginning of a sentence. There wasn't one. There is no sentence that starts that conversation cleanly, no frame that makes it manageable, and I think we both understood that in the same instant. I shook my head. Just slightly. She closed the door and walked away. I sat alone in the car with my hazard lights still going. The app was fully normal, next available rides populating in the queue, map centered correctly on my location, the city laid out around me exactly as it always is at this hour. Nothing flagged. Nothing pending. A regular Tuesday night asking me if I wanted to keep working. I turned off the hazards. I turned toward home. On the drive back I did what anyone does after something they can't explain. I explained it. Bad update pushed to the app, I'd heard of that happening, drivers getting caught in routing loops. GPS anomaly near that industrial area, dead zones do strange things to mapping software. My own exhaustion, nearly 11 hours on the road, the way a tired mind inflates small things and manufactures patterns in noise. By the time I hit my street I had almost built something solid out of it. Almost. I checked the ride history when I got inside. Force of habit, I always check earnings before I close out for the night. The ride was listed normally. Correct origin. Correct destination. Correct passenger. The route looked clean. But the payout was wrong. My cut was half what that distance should have earned. I've done the math on enough rides to know immediately when the number is off. I scrolled to the earnings breakdown. Next to the deduction, in the app standard font. The same size, the same color, the same formatting as every other notation in my trip history, it read. Shared ride fare split applied. I called support the next morning. The woman I spoke to was polite and thorough. She checked my account settings and confirmed I was not registered for shared rides. She checked the trip. Marcus never drove for Uber again. His passenger deleted the app that same night, every rideshare app, all of them, gone. They have spoken twice since then. Neither conversation lasted long. Here is what I keep coming back to. Every single person watching this has been a passenger in a car with a stranger at night, in a city that doesn't know your name, tracked by an app you gave your location to without reading the terms. You have sat in the back seat of a vehicle you couldn't control, going somewhere you trusted you'd arrive, because the app said it was fine and the rating was good and that has always been enough. You handed that trust over so many times you stopped noticing you were doing it. Marcus's name appeared on that passenger list. The figure in the mirror was facing forward. Think about what it was looking at. The number in that profile, the 15-digit string where a name should have been, I tracked it. I wish I hadn't. That story is next.